Bro, hear me out. Episode 8, tax edition, tax evasion edition this year. I decided this year, this is my bro, hear me out. I'm just gonna get right into it while it's on the top of my head. I'm just not gonna do taxes this year. Bro, hear me out. You just don't have to do taxes. And if you don't really make a shit ton of money, I feel like you're gonna be fine for a couple of years. So I'm just not doing taxes because I
Is
just
that
found out I think I owe money to Colorado, so I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just gonna see how far I can go.
let's get some more background on this. This is totally out of left field. We didn't even talk about this before we started. Where is this coming from?
Well, I was just I got my what was I talking? Oh, I was talking to Elise about doing taxes the other day, and she was saying how like it they have to like as a athlete you have to do. I'm sure Val knows too. You have to do taxes kind of like a all at once and like a lump sum. And I was like,
Yep.
oh, like, haha, I'm a W-2 employee. Like, I basically tax season is great because like I just submit my W-2 and most of the time I get a good chunk of change back.
Yep.
But I've never worked for like a W-2 company for a year straight, like I have now at Foros. And so last year I didn't make enough money that I really had any taxes taken out. So I was just given a refund pretty much from like my part-time running job. And so this year I just logged on to TurboTax the other day, popped in the old W-2, and because Koros is in California, I don't pay Colorado state taxes. I just pay California state taxes, which are
Which is
lower.
worse. What? Really?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I this is all hearsay. I literally did it,
I
and
don't think that's true.
I
California
owed
has some of the
I
highest state taxes like in the country.
that's what I'm
But
saying.
maybe I'm wrong.
It said I owed money, and I got really like irrationally upset, and then I just like was like I'm not doing taxes this year, and I just closed my computer. So I don't think so. I'm really thinking I just did something wrong because I'm almost positive last year it was almost like identical to what you just said. Like, oh, you overpaid because you're paying taxes in California. We're actually going to double refund or like refund you even more. So hopefully I'm gonna get on with like a TurboTax expert at some point next week and just be like, can you set me straight? But
You're
yeah,
gonna get on
maybe I'll
with a
do that.
TurboTax expert.
I'm gonna get it on. That's how I'm gonna not do my taxes. I'm gonna get it on with the TurboTax expert, and we're just not gonna do our taxes together.
God damn. I thought you were talking about this because of have you heard about how like Elon is gonna audit the IRS because they're doing all
Yeah,
that? I thought you were doing that because apparently there's I can't remember if there have already been layoffs at the IRS or there are going to be.
yeah,
And I've seen people joking about how like, well, if I don't pay my taxes, there won't be anyone to like come after
yeah,
me. So,
yeah.
but apparently it's not related to that at all.
No, it's
But
not related to that. Could be related to, I mean, I'm looking at for any reason to not do my taxes. So if that's the new
dude,
reason, then we'll
I don't
go
know if
with
we've
Elon's.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this. Doing taxes is probably my least favorite thing. Like it's top five least favorite things I do like every single year. I cannot
Yeah.
stand it. It's like it's the craziest thing to me that we pay all this money throughout the year and
Mm.
then we're required to audit to make sure that we paid the right amount.
Yeah.
I just think it's the
Yeah.
craziest idea. And
Yeah.
also like when you actually have to pay a lot in taxes, like having to look and see like how much you paid in tax. I mean, any amount is a
Oh,
lot. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's like, holy shit, I gave this much money. Yeah, I don't know. I
It's
hate doing
nuts.
it. I don't mind like paying the taxes. It's more just like the fact that I already paid all this money and then I have to do like hours and hours of work to
Yeah.
like
It just,
submit
it
it.
sounds so made up. It's like all year you take X amount of dollars and you know that shit's right to take out of my paycheck. And then this magical time of year, you're gonna make me double check your work that I've been getting my money taken from me. They're just like, yeah, we stole all this from you, but just like make sure it's actually the amount we're supposed to steal from you. And then like, but it's all on you, dog. And if you don't do it, you're gonna get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. They also like even with TurboTax, there's a ton of
Yeah.
verbiage in like TurboTax that's incredibly confusing.
It's
Like,
crazy. Yeah. And
yeah.
I get like a discount through Koros because we use like a specific software or something with them. But even if you just want to hand off everything, it still costs like over $200 just to they like do my taxes for me. It's like, geez Louise, no wonder people want to do this because it's so confusing. It's like you think everything's all cut and dry, and then it's you're on there for 45 minutes, and then they're just like you're reading this verbiage is like, have I been doing my taxes wrong the whole time? Like I don't even know what this earnings is. And it's like I don't know. It's yeah, it sucks. There's actually a restaurant or I guess it's a restaurant in Flagstaff that recently went out of business because of tax evasion. Like they got shut down because they they weren't paying their taxes.
Dude, it can be really bad. You can evade your taxes for a little while, but it'll catch up with you. Like if you ever go to buy a house or
Yeah.
yeah, I know some people that apparently haven't paid their taxes in a long time, and I'm like, dude, like you're gonna have to pay that piper at some point probably. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I love the idea of not having to do all the work to pay my taxes, but I'm stuck in this weird spot every year. I dread doing my taxes, but I'm too much of a cheapskate to pay someone to do them.
Yeah.
So instead, I just like ruin one of my weekends. I'm like, I'm just miserable. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Val literally like won't talk to me for a whole weekend because I also will just like bust it out in one weekend instead of doing it over time. I'll just like procrastinate it and be like, all right, this is the weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyways, doing taxes fucking sucks.
I know.
I hate doing
I
my
feel like
taxes.
nobody. I talked to a couple of people who live in Colorado, at Chorus the other or this past week, and I was like, "Where do you do your taxes? How do you do it? Like, let me make sure I'm getting them out, like just filing it correctly so I don't get like screwed." And most people are just like, "Yeah, I just have someone do it." I feel like no one really knows how to do taxes. They're just like, "Yeah, I just have a guy," or I just like TurboTax it, which is so. It's such a yeah, it's so crazy. It's like everyone has to do it, but I feel like no one really knows how to do it, slash they just pay because it just sucks so much.
Yeah. I mean, honestly not that hard. For me, it definitely gets more confusing when you like own a house and then
Yeah.
like if you're like renting, because like I have to write off certain things about like my house, and then because like I've rented it in the past, like I write off, there's just all these things you have to like write off and like track, and it's just a huge pain in the ass. Yeah, it sucks. I cannot stand doing my taxes. I literally dread it every year. And as soon as it started to be the new year, it started getting all the advertisements, and I'm like, fuck me. So yeah, I'll
Yeah.
probably do that in like a month. And yeah, we probably won't do the podcast that weekend because I'll be fucking miserable. And I'll say I'm not doing that shit this weekend. So
Yeah. I feel
yeah.
that yeah, I was trying to get it knocked out on like Thursday and then I just really got upset and now I haven't touched it since. So maybe this week. But yeah, I mean, speaking of that, we didn't do the podcast last week so we could catch up. The last time we recorded was literally it was the nighttime edition episode. So it was the day before the Super Bowl. It was literally a couple minutes before like those UFC fights we were talking about. I feel like the Super Bowl is a little more widely known, but very underwhelming. Not for you. I'm sure you and Phil were stoked on that, but
Yeah, we were fucking loving that shit.
that
Uh
was so crazy. I didn't the worst part for me is I thought it started at 5:30. So I was going to pick up Elise from the airport in Phoenix. And so I was doing a run in Phoenix. I got to Phoenix at 4:15 and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna place all my bets now. And it was like the game starts in 15 minutes. I was like, what the fuck?
yeah.
I still have a run to do. Like this is ridiculous. So I like tossed in all my bets, did a run, and then picked up Elise from the airport and it was like we were watching it at a bar and then I was like, oh wait, the score is 21-6 and it's not even halftime yet. I guess let's just drive back to Flagstaff and just call it like it's not even that entertaining. It sucked.
Yeah. I mean, I was I so I said when I think on our last podcast that I hope it's a good game. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't have changed a thing. It was great watching for me being a huge yeah, hater of the Chiefs. I thought it was
Yeah,
awesome because and it proves a point that we talked about in one of the podcasts in the past that the Chiefs had a super fraudulent season all year.
that's
They were
true.
winning
Yeah,
all
that's
these
true.
games by super low margins or like bullshit calls or like by a blocked fucking field goal against like the Broncos, for example. And then they went up against arguably the best team all fucking year and got steamrolled.
That's true.
So
Yeah, it is true.
yeah,
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 literally steamrolled though. Like that was the definition of a fraudulent team, is like barely winning all season. It's like, oh, maybe they're still good. I feel like we talked about that a couple of times, but there could be a silver lining. Like they know how to win in close games, all this bullshit. But yeah, I mean, that was just ridiculous. Like it was like I literally picked Elisa up from the airport and I was like, yeah, can you check the score while I'm driving? And she's like, does 21-6 sound right? And I was like, what the fuck? Like what quarter is it? And she's like, there's 10 minutes left in the second quarter. I was like, what is going on? It was just absolutely hammered. But yeah, I guess that's, and yeah, I mean we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but since then I've deleted. Actually, let me give a short narrative of my betting history or 2 weekends ago.
Yeah,
So we
let's
got
hear
off
it.
we got off the podcast and I was like, I'm gonna spend $10 on the next, I think it was those two fights, the um Zhang Weili fight.
We both cashed on that one because we both put money on
Yeah,
Zhang Weili, which was cool.
yeah. And then
But
I put my winnings on Dreykus and you put yours on Sean, right?
yep, which
And then
yours was good.
yeah,
You
I
called that.
cashed out again.
And it only thing I will say, another great example of how I will always bet on the people I want to win, even though
Yeah,
we had both said we had the same feeling that Sean Strickland was going to lose, and he fucking
yeah,
did.
yeah.
I mean, he got kind of steamrolled. So, anyways, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, and so I mean that was late at night here in Flag, but then I guess we're on the same time zone, so it doesn't make a difference where we're but and then so I tripled my money that day, and so I was up like or up to $30. And then so I put all of that on the Chiefs winning plus like some extra too much money or more money than I should have on like a parlay. So it was basically like I made a parlay the last or there was a one of the wild card games, Elise, myself, and then some of her friends made like a parlay where everyone picks a leg. So it's pretty fun. And then if it cashes out, you like
That's definitely
divide the money.
doomed. That's
Yeah,
never
but it was
gonna,
fun. I
that
was
would
like,
never.
it was I was like, no, this is for sure gonna hit. Like mine was like
Oh,
uh
yeah. Having a bunch of
my
random people select the leg, that's
my
never gonna hit.
mine was like Saquon to get over 120 total yards, so passing and rush or like receiving, rushing, and all this stuff. And it was like there was only one of the legs hit, and so like that money is all gone now. But yeah, so I announced, and this is also a good segue. I feel like I'm segueing everywhere right now. Um, I announced my departure from DraftKings formally, and so I announced it on Strava though, and I also realized while when I announced it on Strava last week, I was like, I don't think I've ever shouted out the podcast on Strava yet, and I have more Strava followers than Instagram followers. So if anyone's from Strava, I'm gonna shout it out when we drop this episode too, because I get a lot of interaction on Strava too. So yeah, if anyone came over from Strava, shout out. But
Shameless,
yeah,
shameless plugs for both
I've
Strava and the podcast.
I've formally announced my departure from DraftKings, so I'm gonna have to withdraw all our. I know we were in a negotiation deal with DraftKings for a pod deal, but I'm gonna have to,
Yeah.
out of my morale, I'm gonna have to shut it down.
You can't, dude, you can't do that. That's how the house wins. If you if you stop
Yeah.
betting, then you can't win.
What is this? The Steve will do it slogan is like you're never or you're only a degenerate gambler when you stop gambling because you can always win it back.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, dangerous mentality. Kind of true. Terrible way to approach it though. Yeah, but yeah, dude, because it's funny how one thing I will say is like, because I remember because we talked about it on the last pod, you were like, I'm gonna bet on Zhang Weili, I'm gonna bet all my winnings on Drickus, and then I'm gonna bet on the
Yeah,
Chiefs. And I literally
yeah.
texted you after Drickus won. I was like, bro, you should have done that fucking like plus 700
Oh
parlay
yeah, the
or
parlay,
whatever it
yeah.
was, because I was like, that's, I mean, you would have had two legs of it already. And good thing you didn't though, because that would have been a fucking bummer.
Yeah, I would have been really
But
messed up.
yeah, I lost whatever it was. I only put like I think I put $5 on Whaley and then which was like $10. And I think I put that $10 on Strickland. And yeah, dude. Also, one thing, I don't know how many people that listen to the pod actually watch the UFC, but did you watch Sean Strickland break his nose and try to put it back in place during that fight?
No, I didn't watch. No, I didn't watch that part. All my
Okay.
streams are down. I don't know how. Yeah, all my streams are
Dude,
down.
TikTok, it's available in not that that's where I watch it, Dana White, but TikTok is back in the app store apparently. So I've heard that there's maybe streams on there. I don't know. Never tried it myself. Um, but yeah, anyways, the I didn't actually like watch the whole fight. I saw the highlights. I watched like the last couple rounds, but he
Yeah,
broke it I think pretty early on, and his nose was literally on the side of his face, and it was like, oh my God.
I saw in
Anyways,
an interview he was like, it's not that hard to put a nose back in its place when it's broken in like so many places.
yeah, it was gross. It was like disturbing to see, but it makes sense. Like when you look at guys like, some guys where they have these like flat noses or
Yeah,
like Justin Gaethje's nose looks all messed up. It's
right.
just because they've just smashed it a million times.
It's
And you
crazy
think
that that
about,
doesn't happen more often.
yeah, like in fights where like someone's nose is like literally to the, yeah, I agree. When I saw Sean Strickland's nose do that, I was like, yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, wow, it's kind of surprising that's the first time I've seen that. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but I have a couple hot takes on um both the Super Bowl and the UFC fights.
Okay.
Dude, I think Dricus is probably the funniest champion in the UFC in the sense that I think he appears to be the least skilled.
Yeah, I
Like the
agree.
way he fights is like, how the fuck is this guy the best guy in this division and beat some like really good people? Because he fights
Yeah.
like uh like an idiot. The way
He
he like
fights
just
like
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 runs and swings.
yeah, he fights like a elementary schooler, but he's also jacked. So he's like a huge
It's like
guy, but he
he's
fights
like
like
an
an
ape,
idiot.
dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like a silverback gorilla and his proportions are really weird. So like when yeah, he's like super top heavy, but yeah, I'm yeah, I think he's one of the most like I don't think he's even in the ballpark of how good Izzy is or
Yeah.
was,
Right.
but he did choke Izzy out. But yeah, just the way he fights is like not enjoyable because and I actually saw an interview with Izzy and Robert Whitaker where they were talking about it, where they're like,
Mhm.
it's almost hard to fight him because he fights like in such a like unskilled way.
Yeah, he fights it. It just seems like he just like does random stuff and hopes for something to happen and then he just capitalizes on that, but he doesn't know what to do when he's standing up. But yeah, he's
Yeah.
very wild. Yeah, it's just like an out of control person.
Yeah. But I think him asking for Hamzat is going to be a nightmare. I think Hamzat's going to steamroll him.
I would that would be a bet that I mean, I do think Hamza would win. Maybe me and DraftKings will repair our relationship by then. But that would be a bet that I would put money on Hamza just because I would want Hamza to win because Hamza's my favorite fighter. But yeah, that would be I just think Hamza would fuck him up within the first round.
I think so too. I
Because
think
Hamza's the king of like fighting out of control. Like he just does all this like random stuff, but it works because he's such a good wrestler and he just overwhelms you and then you're just being choked out. That's what he did to like Kevin Holland, and that's what he's I mean, even against who did he fight last? Whitaker, right?
yeah, he broke Robert Whitaker's fucking face, dude.
Yeah, his jaw, but it was just like
That
super
was the
hectic and he
grossest.
just got him in that
That
place.
was the grossest thing I've ever seen, I think, from the UFC. Did you see the picture of
Yeah.
Robert Whitaker? Yeah, anyways,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was awful.
That
Um,
dude's a menace.
yeah. Also, like, I can't remember who he fought. When remember when there's like he was like at the start of the fight, he's like on like all fours and he's like looking like
Yeah.
halfway up. That is the
Oh,
funniest Hamzat
sick.
clip. If I was in the cage, I'd literally start screaming and jump over
Yeah.
and run away. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to that. But I think I mean, hey, I hope Drickus proves me wrong, but I don't he just doesn't fight in a way that like I think he's very good. I mean, obviously he's good, but
Yeah.
I don't know. The way he fights is very deceiving, so it'll be super interesting to see if he can actually like be competitive with Hamzat. Because remember the Gilbert Burns Hamzat fight? Like
Mm,
that fight was incredible.
yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But my prediction is that I think Hamzat's going to steamroll him. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, and then the Super Bowl was great. Honestly, the best part about that was hanging out with Phil and just
Nice.
like Phil and I were just like freaking out the whole time because I was like, there's no way this is happening. Like it was kind of like the perfect way for the Chiefs to kind of round out their whole like three-peat talk was to
Yeah.
literally get destroyed. Like
Yeah. It
crazy.
didn't
And
seem
did
like
you
they
see?
had any hope.
I know. Well, the no, dude, I mean Patrick Mahomes literally had the worst game of his career, I think, like
Like five
statistically.
interceptions, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, it was terrible. And they were all talking.
Crazy.
I'm sure it made you happy as like a Patriots fan because everyone was like, if anyone ever compares Tom Brady to Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes again, like they're insane. Like it's
Shout out
not
my
even the
boy
same
Tom.
thing.
Yeah,
I
Tom
mean,
never
dude,
did that shit.
yeah, he never, well, they were saying like the times that Patrick Mahomes has lost in the Super Bowl, he's gotten fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
Like
I
both
remember
both times.
I would watch most games growing up with my grandpa, or yeah, I guess my grandparents and parents of the Patriots. And then even when I got to high school and college outside of it, I guess the Patriots were good until maybe my second or third year of college, but it was like a really big deal if Tom threw like two interceptions. I was like, oh fuck, like this is such a problem. But yeah, there's no shot. I mean, maybe one game in my life he threw more than three interceptions, but if Tom threw one interception, it was like, what the fuck? That's not supposed to happen. So yeah,
Yeah.
don't come on my goat like that. Anyone comparing
Well,
Mahomes.
the funniest part is they literally have those videos of like the Chiefs players being like when they were down like 27 whatever at
Yeah.
6 or 36 and they were like the Patriots did it, we can do it. And everyone was like they are not the same. But
Yeah.
I also think probably Travis Kelce should retire. Um not
Yeah.
to be a hater. I actually really like Travis Kelce, but he played really badly and had kind of a overall mediocre year. And I don't. It's kind of the same thing of one of the things we were talking about previously. Like it's way better to do like what Gronk did,
Mm,
is like go out on top. Like you're not tarnishing your legacy by retiring maybe a few. Like even though you have a few more years that you can play football, like you don't need the
right.
money. You know.
Right. Definitely
Like
not.
he doesn't need the money and like going to have another year like he did this year, like what does that do for you, in my opinion?
Yeah,
But
it's true.
besides maybe like going back to a Super Bowl, like I could see a good argument for maybe doing one more year. But if he does one more year and doesn't have a good year, I think he should for sure retire. But I think retiring this year for Travis Kelce would be a good move.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, he could just, even if he retired, like I feel like Gronk retired too early just because he was still playing pretty well. Even in his last year, he wasn't playing as good as he was, but I mean, he could just do the Gronk thing and just like Gronk is still raking. He's probably making, he could be making more now than he was in the NFL. He's just doing all the shows and commentating and appearances. Like it's
Yep.
not like I feel
And
like you don't have to, and that's what his brother's doing. Jason Kelsey's doing commentating and Tom Brady's doing it. It's like you don't have to just because you retire from football doesn't mean football is just gonna disappear. Like you can really still be in it at a high level or even coaching at some type of level. It's like you're not just totally giving up running forever. It's or geez Louise, I hate that I just said running. Fuck me. You're not just giving up football forever. Fuck. I'm in too deep. I'm in too deep.
oh dude, that's like if you had daddy issues. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That was peak. I'm clipping that. I'm gonna post our first clip. Um, but yeah, no, I think, but yeah, to your point, I think that the reason why like Jason Kelsey and like Gronk, they go on to have these great careers afterwards is because they retire from the sport when they're at like the top of their game and they're extremely relevant,
Hmm.
and then they can just like carry that over into like doing ads and like doing being an actor or being a commentator
Right.
or being a spokesperson or whatever. It's like yeah, so I think yeah, and I mean obviously and if he keeps dating Taylor Swift and if they ever get married, he never has to worry
That's
about
true.
money. So
True.
um yeah, but yeah, it was nice to see for me, it was really nice to see Patrick Mahomes get slaughtered. So,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how good they are next year. I think the Eagles are going to be really good again next year. Also, I will say the star of the game, Cooper DeJean, my
Yeah.
hero. That was cool. Dude, my algorithm was just like all like Cooper DeJean highlights for like a week. And my other favorite part was my buddy Phil, well, both Charlie and I's friend Phil, is a huge Eagles fan. He's from Pennsylvania. And dude, like we went to the gym yesterday. I hadn't seen him in like a week because we were both had been traveling and stuff. And we were in the gym like lifting weights, and he just looks at me. He's like, "Dude, the fucking Eagles, man." Like it's just so it's I just like love how like happy it makes him because it's just like you can just see like when you can see someone thinking about something and then it's like smiling, it's like oh, it's awesome. So
Yeah. It's bringing them pure joy and has nonstop for the past week.
yeah, well, I watched the last Super Bowl with him, and I think it was against the Chiefs too when they lost. And
Yeah.
yeah, and he was super bummed about that. So it was cool to see like the 180 of that. So,
Yes.
but the other thing is Jason Kelsey should Jason Kelsey should have stayed one more year, and he would have an extra
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
True.
So
That's
that's
true.
crazy. Yeah. Anyways, all right, we don't have to keep talking about football. Um, there's some crazy races was it
Yeah.
last weekend? Or
Yeah.
yeah,
Last weekend.
last
Because Val
weekend.
raced last weekend.
Yep. Um, yeah, I went out to Boston with Val. She raced the 5K. And
Boston.
yeah, dude, that whole facility. We've been there before, but it's really cool. I think it's a really nice
Yeah.
facility.
It is
Track
super
super
nice.
fast. Um, yeah, I wouldn't really say too much because like it's Val's race, but she wanted to run better than that. Kind of ran like her race, probably the hardest way she possibly could have.
Yeah,
So
that was a crazy way to to go for that. But I
yeah,
mean,
I think
shout out.
she probably had a good amount of time in if she ran it differently. But
Or if it was just
uh
paced at a slightly slower spot.
yeah, she just kind of licked the stamp and sent it, and I don't think she
Mm,
just hasn't been doing the specific work to like do that. But honestly, like with the way like in my opinion, this is what I was telling her. Again, I don't want to comment too much on her race, but what I said to Val, because she ran slower than she wanted to, but it's like, dude, it's better to go out and run races and go for it because that's how all these international races against like the Africans are going to be, is they're going to be
hmm.
super fast. So it's better to just go put your note, even if she wasn't like fully prepared for it, it's way better to do that than like
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, there's probably a bunch of different ways to look at it, but that, in my perspective, I think that's a good way to look at it.
it's true. Yeah, I mean, even going, assuming you're going to talk about like the world records, or I guess Grant's world record or Grant's two world records or whatever, and even like Cole and Cooper running 12:57 yesterday, it's like you just can't run. And we talk about this a decent amount up here with Woody and the Leafs now. You just can't like indoors used to be like you'd be able to use it to race into shape for outdoors, but now if you're running indoors, it's like you can't race into shape anymore. If you want to be good or you want to make it worth it, like you have to actually be in shape. It's not just like using it to practice tactics or using it to race into shape. It's like you have to be ready to roll, and if you're not, then you're
Yeah.
just gonna get so exposed. And it's like that. Yeah, I mean, it's just showing. It's like the people are running so fast. It is just nuts.
Well, the other thing too that I think, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit too, is that just in general, like people could have like objectively a good day, but you don't really know that because there's so many people running so fucking fast now that it's like
Right.
if you're not like setting basically like a world record or a world standard time, it's like,
Hmm.
oh, like someone didn't run the world standard, and it's like, holy shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it kind of overshadows like a little bit of the progression because the sport is in such a crazy place with
Hmm.
how fast certain people are running. I think that it's kind of weird. I think it's something for a lot of people to not get too lost in the sauce of like, hey, there there are races that can serve as like progression, even if you're
Yeah.
not the one running a world record or a world standard right now. So
Yeah. And
um
it's also just like red flag to me, it's like red flags everywhere. It's like, hey, y- like gentle reminder, but also not so gentle, but like Worlds are in September. Like let's not forget
Dude,
that.
literally so far from now. Literally so far from
It's
now.
so nuts.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. And this actually kind of leads into we have some Instagram messages to read, but
Oh,
and
let's
this is
go. My
yeah,
rant paid
yeah,
off.
your bitch session might have worked a little bit. But I I think one of the here's what I would say, and this is maybe my bro, hear me out. And this isn't necessarily the craziest hot take, but I think especially with where running as a sport is at currently, medals I think are more valuable than ever because of the fact that world records now seem so temporary of like
Mm,
because of how fast people are running these days.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you could have a world record like Yared for literally 5 days or whatever it was,
That's true. That is fun.
which is fucking insane. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, like, I mean, obviously, like someone like Yared could say, yeah, I was a world record holder, but I would imagine the thing that, right now, I would say that his, bigger highlight is being an Olympic bronze medalist.
Yeah. I think I'm sure that varies person to person, but yeah, I'm sure. I mean, most people that I know or that I can think of off the top of my head would rather say like, yeah, I'm a medalist or I have a medal versus like a world record because I'm sure there's some people that would say I'd rather a world record, but I feel like most people that are at that level are just so competitive that they're just like, I would rather beat people than be the fastest person ever.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I guess my hot take would be like, bro, hear me out. Championships are way more important than time.
Yeah. I mean, it's very true. It's like obviously the championship is only for that one day, and it's like you can run a world record. You could try like if your sole goal was to break the 5K world record, you could try it like 4 times in a year versus like yeah, if you wanted, I mean, everyone wants a medal, which is part
Right.
of the allure of it is like everyone could get a medal. Like you never know how the race is going to go, but you don't have to be in a world like you could beat a world record holder to get a medal, and it's like I feel like that's way cooler, and I feel like the general population if you say like I'm a Olympic gold medalist versus a 5K world record holder, people would just be like, yeah, but like, what's your mile time? Versus like, oh, Olympic gold medalist, like, yeah, you're really good.
Right. Well, the other thing too is that like say you set a national record or American record or world record, if someone goes and breaks your record, now your like title of that accomplishment has changed because it'd be like, well,
True.
I was a former world
Also
record
true.
holder.
Yeah.
But if you go and win a gold medal or a national championship or whatever, it's I was the champion. I was a gold
That's
medalist,
also, yeah, that's
right?
true.
And that title of that event will never change, right? Like
Yeah. That's a good point.
Cole Hawker might not be the world record holder in the 3K, right? But he's always forever going to be the gold medalist in the 1500 meters, right?
True. Yeah, it is true.
So so in my mind, I think especially just with how fast everyone's running, just you know, I think it's easy to get lost in the sauce, but at the end of the day, I still think that medals and championships overall are just the most important thing. I think they're more important than ever because of how fast people are running, and it's like,
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Dang.
Anyways,
Well, don't
um,
blue ball me with these listener questions. I want to hear
all right, all right, hold on.
them.
Yeah. So if you guys didn't tune in last week, you should at least go tune into when
Episode
Charlie
7.
when Charlie
When I
went
had
on
a
a
little moment. Yeah. Had a
went
little moment.
on a little rant um, about how he wanted more people to um, send us messages.
Interact. Yeah, more people send us messages, and I feel like, and I got a little sympathetic or like apologetic last week or the last episode, and I do want to reiterate that people do interact with us, and I get told people listen all the time, but it would be really cool to have a segment like now that is just like, oh, these are all the questions, even if they're stupid questions. It's like, oh, these are the questions because it makes me or makes us definitely makes me feel like people are like really listening rather than and this is definitely a switch up from like episode 1 when I was like, oh, even if people just listen to us talk while they're sitting in traffic, they don't ever like tell us they're listening. I was like, that would make it worth it for me. But now I'm just like, I need everyone to write in all these questions and do the podcast for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually do get told a surprising amount that like oh like when I see someone I haven't seen in a while, I'll be like, oh, I listened to one of the podcasts or but like I think it's always cool when someone says like, oh, I listened to one of the podcasts. I think it's funny when someone's like, oh, I listened to the podcast and I liked it. And I'm like, did you? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I trust you, but hey, if
Yeah.
you do like it, that's awesome. I hope everyone does. But all right, first comment. We only have two, so we could definitely use more guys. Pick up the slack, as Charlie would say. It's coming from Austin Pfeifner. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. All right, so he said topics to talk about on the next podcast, and he's got a bunch. He's got six here, so let's do one by one. Okay,
We
first,
could store some of these too, but yeah.
loop run or an out and back run. I'll
Oh,
let you go
that's
first.
easy. These are like rapid fire. I would say I would say
This
loop.
is yeah, easy for me. Loop 100%. Out and backs are brutal because you know exactly how far you're at. Whereas and you're not seeing things twice. So I think loop for sure. All right, two. Bro, hear me out. Watching track races by following live splits is better than watching a live stream. Austin,
Ooh, tough.
terrible take. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
horrible.
lie. Don't agree with that take. Um,
And you're gonna have to pay us rights for using Bro Hear Me Out. You're gonna have to send us a Venmo for that one.
no, I mean, hey, if you like watching races like that, uh, or
It is
following
it is
races, I
cool. It's kind of like reading the book versus watching the movie. Like you I have watched plenty of races that is like updated splits and you just like, oh, where did like all of a sudden someone else is in the lead and like especially if it's a 200 indoor track, like that's pretty cool. But no, I mean that is a good example of a bro hear me out, but I would
that
totally
is a good.
disagree with that.
Honestly, that is a great bro. Hear me out. That's like a great hot take. I don't agree with it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree. It is. I will say one of the I do like for races that I'm interested in or races that I can't watch live. It is interesting to look at the live splits and see like how something might have like
Yeah.
happened or whatever like
Hmm.
that is interesting, so I do think live splits are interesting, but I wouldn't prefer it over watching it live.
Yeah.
All right, this is an interesting one, Austin, not gonna lie. Number three, what is the definition of a taco? Is it defined by the taco shell or defined by the taco seasoning?
Ooh, that's awesome. You're losing me on these questions, big dog. I've heard that, or I've heard it. What's the definition of a sandwich? Like, is a taco a sandwich? I think that's a common. I've been asked that on my podcast
A
before. The
taco is a
definition,
taco.
the
That's
definition of a taco,
I
I
would
think
say
it's,
buy a taco shell. Like you can
yeah,
put
it's the
taco
fact.
seasoning on like something, but it's not a taco.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking what makes a taco, it's the fact that it's just what
It's a shell.
you're,
It's the shell or the
yeah,
tortilla folded
the
in half.
tortilla, the vehicle that you're using. You can always put more stuff in the taco, but like a burrito is sealed. Fajitas are different. I guess fajitas are kind of tacos, but yeah,
It's the transportation vehicle to your mouth, which is
yeah. Or it's what makes a taco is because I fucking call it a taco, dude. Like I don't know.
no, it's no. I understand his point. He's saying that like you can put taco seasoning on something. I haven't heard this
Mm,
before, but no, I think you can put taco seasoning on something. Uh, that doesn't make it a taco. It's the taco shell. So
no.
that's what I.
If you ever watched iCarly growing up, Spencer, the older brother, would make spaghetti tacos, and those are definitely tacos. He just put spaghetti inside of a taco, and there's no taco seasoning in there. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds disgusting. But yes, that I would say that is technically a taco. There's taco shell. All right, number four. What do you think would survive longer in the wilderness? Oh, who do you think would survive longer in the wilderness by themselves? By themselves. Okay, between you and me, who would survive longer in the wilderness? You
Wow.
go ahead. You go ahead. I have a pretty. I what do you
In
think?
the wilderness. In the wilderness. Um,
I think
I
you would
feel
die
like
way weeks before
what?
me.
What?
Weeks.
weeks is a
Yeah.
lot. I feel like I can lock in. I feel like I could. I feel like I would surprise some people. I still might not live as long as Kyle, but I'm also not sure
Let's
what skills you possess that that I don't. But weeks is tough. I don't think you'd be going weeks longer than me.
This is my ego, man. I don't know. I just uh, um yeah, I think yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, we both live probably pretty sheltered lives and we don't go
Yeah,
camping very frequently.
yeah.
Um yeah,
It wouldn't be very long, I don't think either one of us.
I think
It'd
because
be
I have a little more
underwhelmingly
fat on my
long.
bone, I would starve slower. How
Yeah.
about that? There we go.
It would be a very
So
underwhelming competition.
my body would eat itself over a longer period of time because there's more to eat. That's
Yeah.
actually like I feel like a pretty fair way of looking at that to be straight
Yeah,
up honest. Like
that's
if
true. If everything else is even, then that would make you last longer.
yeah, so boom, let's suck it. All right, five. What is your go-to Netflix show that you will always rewatch? I have a couple, but I'm interested
Ooh,
to hear yours. That's actually a great question.
that is a good one. If it assuming it has to be on Netflix, Netflix show that I'll always rewatch is Trailer Park Boys. I will
Okay.
always rewatch that. And then in general, like I can always rewatch The Office. Like that's on cable a lot. Office is a classic.
Yep.
Or I can always rewatch. I don't do it very often because they're like hour-long episodes, but I can always also rewatch the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance. I can always rewatch that too.
Yeah. Those are good ones. Yeah. 100% agree with you on The Office. The other one I would say is Breaking Bad. The
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
the difference I would say with The Office is because there's so many episodes and so many seasons, I feel like you could rewatch the episode or The Office more frequently.
Yeah,
Whereas Breaking Bad, I feel like you need a little bit of a longer in between. Also because I feel like The Office is just like comedy is like more easy to digest on a more frequent basis, whereas like a show like
yeah.
Breaking Bad is like more serious and maybe a little bit sad at times. So
That's true.
might need a little bit more of a hiatus, but I've definitely rewatched both of those shows a number of times and will probably continue to do so. So
That's a good question. Possibly best question so far.
yeah, I like it. Um, and then all right, number six and last or okay, yeah, number six. Also, have you watched One Championship Muay Thai? He said, watch question. That was a question, and then he said, watch out for Chef Luke Lessie. I think is
Hmm.
pronounced. I assume that's someone in One Championship. Um, I have never actually. I've seen highlights of some stuff in One
Hmm.
Championship. I've never watched it.
Yeah, I've never watched it
So
either. I think Rogan talks about it on a couple of his podcasts, but I think that's also a good example of what you're saying with like your league and that there has to be one big league. Like that is a good example of there's a bunch of smaller leagues, and I'm sure like Muay Thai, however you say it, that specific mixed martial arts type has a demographic. But yeah, you're not gonna top the UFC. But yeah, I think Rogan talks about it a lot. I think he's a big fan. I'll
yeah,
have to look into it. But yeah,
that's one of the best parts about Joe Rogan is that he just like loves the sport so much because he watches One Championship.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like we're big UFC fans, but we're not like
yeah.
we're not big enough fans of like the sport. I feel like to follow other leagues. Also, just because like you'd have to really be into it.
Mhm.
And I think for me, it's like I know that like the UFC is the pinnacle. It's like watching the XFL versus the NFL. Like, yeah, I could
Yeah,
watch the XFL, but I know I'm not watching the best stuff.
probably still
So,
good. But yeah,
but yeah, I know that like Bellator, like Michael Chandler, didn't Michael Chandler come from Bellator and didn't
hmm,
what's his face, Mighty Mouse, didn't he? I think he might have come from
yeah.
One Championship, or was it Bellator?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
I feel like anyways, all those other leagues they like feed the UFC. Like the big stars will kind of get into the UFC at some point. So
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, Austin, if you have like any fights that are like you have to watch this one,
Yeah.
we will
To
watch
YouTube
it.
it. Yeah.
If if you have any like straight up fight suggestions, we will watch it because we're not closed off to it, but we haven't watched it. But good questions. He also then said, "Awesome, great podcast. Keep it up." Listening from Michigan. So shout out Austin for
Michigan, baby.
messaging. Yeah, I wonder where in Michigan, but yeah, thanks for listening, dude. Thanks for the questions. Send in some more for the next pod. And then we got another one from Brandon Deemers. Do you know Brandon?
Nice. I do. Yeah, I grew up close to him. Yeah, I know him from high school, middle school.
Okay. Okay, nice. So you know, okay. So he said, got to bring the DMs back to life. Don't feel like
Oh,
you need to read all this shit. We're gonna read it, Brandon.
nice.
Um, First off, shout out Chesapeake Beach. Chuck has launched a
Shouts.
fair few long runs from Richfield Station.
I've watched a couple of them.
Okay. Um, Secondly, I use the phrase, oh, I forgot about this. Secondly, I use the phrase come up for air alarmingly frequently.
Oh, jeez.
Teaching. I genuinely start every single class with, okay, kids, come up for air from your phones so we can do some math. Thank you, Brandon. Charlie's an idiot. I agree. Great phrase. Yeah, Chuck, come on.
Yeah, it's fun.
You gotta expand that vocab there, bud. For anyone that didn't listen to the last podcast, I said the phrase "come up for air," and Charlie claimed that he had never heard that before, which I thought
I
was
have
pretty
never heard of it. You're using it the same catchphrase as someone who's talking to a bunch of kids on TikTok. So I don't know if that's something to be proud
cool.
of, but
Wait, well, I don't. Okay, all right. Next part. Um, Segment idea. This may be a week too late. The athlete special went on his channel and said he's looking for a coach. You all should do
oh,
it if he's
Spencer.
a free agent still.
That's funny. I know Spencer really well. I run with him a lot. He lives in Boulder now. I actually texted him. So we sponsor him through Koros, him and Ali. And so yeah, when he posted that, I texted him after that and I told him I would charge him $500 a month to be his coach. Because
Jokingly
he's
or dead serious?
half and half. If he had the bands for it, I wouldn't. No, I was joking. But then I was like, "What are you looking for in a coach?" And basically, he ran 65 minutes and a half, and he thinks he can be more of a better runner. And so, yeah, that's funny that he said that because I did reach out to Spencer last week about it. He has, I think, I haven't watched his latest YouTube video yet, but it sounds like he did find a coach, but he was less concerned about finding a coach, more concerned about just like having people to train with and just like workouts to do that aren't alleys. So that is funny that he said that. That would have been crazy if we could start our own coaching. We could just coach people.
Yeah, that would. Yeah. I
Right.
mean, the one thing I was gonna say about that, I mean, I know who Spencer is from like afar. I've never met him, but just like for seems like he trains like fairly seriously. And my one thing, like
Yeah.
in my experience, I feel like it's super hard to stay that like dedicated and like continue progressing without like having a coach.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think having a coach is a good idea. I always wonder when people are like self-coached,
Mm,
I feel like that's really, really tough. So,
yeah. Yeah. That's
I
funny
mean,
you
you
said
did that a
that.
little bit, like, right?
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah, I
you?
think I think you can self-coach, especially on the roads. That's what I kind of told Spencer too, is you can do it just because you don't have to be locked in forever. But the track, and he's told me this too, like self-coaching on the track is so much different. And like I can self-coach myself, but it's just very hard to be like doing stuff that you know you're not good at. And sometimes you just need a coach or just like an external set of eyes to be like, you're only doing this, you need to do more of whatever. And so yeah, I think. Yeah, there's times and places, and some people are better at self-coaching than others, but I am not one of them, I would say.
You're not good at self-coaching.
I'm very good at self-coaching, but I'm not good at self-coaching. I'm self-coaching myself into like good fitness, but if I want to be like really, really good, then I would have to be like, can
Not
someone
a
else
coach.
look at this? Or like, yeah, and
Yeah.
someone else just being like, you need to like you and Val, like you need to lift weights or you need to like do something different versus I would just run 10 by mile with 400 rest every single workout day. Is like I'm so good at that, but it's not really useful at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like also honestly for me in like my experience, I feel like just having like a plan that is constructed by someone else that you don't have to think about is like
Yeah,
one of the nicest things. And like the only way that you think about it is just giving the feedback of, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Like, should I adjust this?
right.
You know?
Yeah, yeah,
So
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I've always thought about it. I mean, if people, yeah, I think a hot take, hot take, when you see a professional runner take up coaching, they're hurting financially. That's why bro hear me out. Bro hear me out. When you see a pro runner say like I'm gonna start coaching or it's a lot different and there's a
that
lot
might
of
ruffle some
outliers.
feathers, Chuck. That might ruffle some feathers,
There's a
bro.
lot of outliers. I'm thinking of specifically one person in particular. I don't know if you listen to this podcast or not, but specifically one person has told me like when his running contract start or like when he wasn't racing or like when he wasn't making as much money off of prize winnings, he would start coaching more and so yeah, that's kind of where that hot take came from. But no, I think coaching, I think it's really cool. Definitely it gives you a really good, if you're good at it and you're really interested in it, you can definitely tell. Like some people have a really good online platform and they are very invested in the people who they coach. But then I think there are some professional runners out there that are just like, yeah, I just ran 208 or whatever. Let me just coach you and then send me $200 a month. And it's just like
Yeah.
they're giving you their workouts. It's like, yeah, is a great athlete going to be a good coach? Probably not. But I don't know. Some people will just pay to be like, just tell me what to do. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Even though it might ruffle some feathers, hopefully not. Yeah, I mean I agree. I'll see that on Instagram and I'll be like, I my first question is always in my head like, do you really want to coach or do
Yeah.
you just want some like money on the side? And like,
Mhm.
hey, depending on who you are, you could probably have like you could probably stand up like a decent side hustle with coaching pretty quickly.
For sure. Yeah, you definitely
And
could. Yeah.
I think that's why it's so alluring, right? Like if you know, like take a trail athlete just as an example, right? If they find
Mm,
some like good success, you know, there's a lot of people that would probably be like really stoked to be coached by them.
mhm.
But I think that's kind of like the double-edged sword. I think coaching can be so impactful to athletes when coaches really fucking care.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm all about people should make money. However, I mean, as long as it's not hurting anyone. But yeah, I hope. I mean, yeah, if you go into coaching, hopefully it's like because of genuine curiosity and interest.
Yeah, I say this and I'm going to launch a coaching program next week.
Dude, I know I'm gonna fucking shit on you next podcast about it. Yeah, but anyways, there are a lot of great coaches out there. There's a lot of bad coaches out there too, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
We've worked with some. So um,
Yeah,
yeah. Anyways,
it can be very involved though. Yeah, coaching online, it can be very involved. I coached a kid in high school when I was still at the running store and it didn't go very well. It's a very unique relationship to like be coaching someone because it's like you think you can just give them workouts, but then it's most of the time it's also like they're paying you so they want to be able to call you once a day, which is obviously rightfully so. And then it's like, where's the line drawn? And then if they do start winning money, like Spencer's a great example, like he could potentially win money at like a race such as like the Mesa half. Like I think he was sixth in his half marathon. So it's like when if he wins money, do I take part of it or am I just like out of the goodness of my heart because you are paying me? So it's like, yeah, it's a very interesting relationship that a lot of people don't really think about, but the coach like the online coaches that have like decent platforms I think have all that covered and it's like a you sign the actual business agreement and it's like a this is the end date and then I can like reevaluate. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Just taking up coaching people randomly is a slippery slope because you can definitely ruin
well,
some like some people's relationships with the sport.
yeah, no, total. I mean, that's totally true. I think that's like a fair point. Like I've had like soccer coaches. I haven't had any like running, I would say. Like I've had coaches that in running that I don't think are very good coaches or very like interested. or even maybe qualified that or whatever. But I haven't had any coaches in running that have like pushed me away from the sport, but I have in soccer. Like I
Mm,
had some like just people, just like the way they like whatever, just like way interact with kids, especially because I was younger. But yeah, I think if you do go into coaching, you need to understand that you're kind of signing up for like potentially like a really important person because if someone's willing to pay you for coaching, that's probably because they like really like it and it's really important to them. And
yeah,
like you should carry that with like a sense of like, hey, I
right.
understand that this is really important to you and I'm like invested in your success, which I was just thinking about from like a prize money versus like monthly payment. In some ways, like if you have a really invested coach that cares about your success and you are successful, then it would make sense that they would, maybe take a percentage of your prize winnings versus like a coach that say you just pay him like $200 a month and it's
Mm,
just like and then it's just like this volume thing like I'm just trying to get as many people as I possibly can,
right. Yeah,
like and then it's like, well, are you interested in that person's success or are you just interested in their monthly payment, you know
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
anyways, interesting dilemma. But yeah, coaches can, yeah, I mean, coaches can are super important, so yeah.
yeah.
But I think the reason why there it seems like there's so many online running coaches these days is because it's on like so much of it is online. It's so easy
Mm.
to do.
It's so easy, and it's so easy just to consume content on Instagram of like, oh, this is how this person's training. Let me do that. And like, not all the high school like gym coaches who are the cross country coach or whatever are in tune with that. Whereas you can be on Instagram for 5 minutes and be like, oh, this person's doing double T, or this person's doing a long run on a Saturday, or this person's doing a long run in the middle of the week. Is like, it's so easy to do that. And I think that's where like the online coaching comes from, is it's so easily accessible and you can do so much different stuff with it. And so, uh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like we do kind of, I mean, just as like a larger thing, like we live in a time where there's so many easy ways or easier ways to make money these days. And while, yeah, you should, make money, you should also do things that, you're passionate about that aren't completely driven about, money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think coaching is, I think it's like one of those areas because for the most part, people run because they're so passionate about it. So it's kind of this like weird
Mm,
moral like diet. You
right.
know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah.
like if you like go on TikTok and you're like, I want to make a TikTok account and like maybe like, sell stuff that I like would get like a kickback on. That's like different,
Yeah. Right.
versus
Right.
like
Right.
a coach is like it's a TikTok example. You're not necessarily, someone might not like, they buy the product, they don't like it, like whatever. But
Yeah.
like the coaching, like that could actually like affect someone, you know?
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
anyways, and okay, well, the last thing, do you have another minute or two for his last thing?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Okay, his last thing, we kind of already talked about this, but I want to make sure I go through everything. Question based on world record, but this is more specific. So, question based on world record chatter, would you rather have someone like Jakob's collection of records or someone like Mo Farah's collection of medals? I'll let you go.
Um,
This one's easy for me personally.
yeah, I think, it's tough. You would choose the medals?
100%.
Yeah.
I
I
wouldn't
think
even
the
take
only
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think using Jakob is a tough example because of his range of records. Like, he wants to have every record from the 1500 to the marathon, which is probably not going to happen. But I think that is really cool. Like, that is a total monopoly on it versus Mo. I mean, I don't think anyone will ever do it, but double gold medal twice, which is also like he's up to 5 and 10 twice, and it's like, yeah, he's clearly the king of that. But also, it would be crazy to be the world record holder for those every distance, 15, 3K indoors, 5K, 10K, half, and full. That would be really crazy. But yeah, I just feel like in terms of like a longevity and a legacy perspective, people, I mean, Mo hasn't raced. I mean, he's done some marathons, but people still talk about Mo's double gold, especially in running hubs. Like, or you just talk about a runner or two runner, it's like, oh, Mo's double gold twice was nuts because he took down such an insane field. And Jakob is just like obviously really good, but I feel like people are less impressed with that. Yeah, I mean, stuff.
Well, I think what would be really interesting, in my opinion, is like take someone like Jakob, right? He has the indoor world record. He doesn't have the outdoor world record, right? That's still Hisham El right?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure he can break that as well, and
Yeah.
probably will. And he'll probably break like the 1500-meter world record as well. But what I would be curious about is like asking like, hey, would you rather have the records or like if you could go back to Paris and win the gold, like what would you rather have?
Yeah. I feel
You
like
know?
yeah, just like you said, the moment of the golds is just like I think the only reason like I'm hesitating between Jakob and Mo is if I mean Mo has more than just those four gold medals too. And but there's if you think of those four gold medals versus Jakob potentially could have more than four records, that would be my hesitation. But yeah, I think if you look at more than just the gold medals, you look at the podiums and you look at world championship years too, like Mo was literally the GOAT. And I I don't know if Jakob will be called the GOAT until he starts winning more global medals.
Yeah, I think he definitely has like I mean obviously he's still super young, so you know, he's got like a shit ton of time. But yeah, I think yeah, I mean I just think medals are you know, like Mo basically I know he wasn't undefeated for a while, but then like once he started winning, he
Hmm.
like never kind of lost and he always won when it counted. And I think it to me it's like a question of well, why do we race? Do you run like obviously you want to like PR and like, you know, do
Yeah.
better for yourself, but like at the end of the day, like humans, you know, started racing. They didn't even have like a, you know, they weren't using a
Yeah.
sundial to time races. They were like, hey, I'm trying to beat, you know, X, Y, and Z person that I'm racing against. So I think at the end of the day, like, you know, running is all about beating people, or as many as you can. And
True.
if you win medals or if you win a race, then you're the best in that particular day, right? In that particular race, and that's like, yeah. I mean, you can run. I don't know. You can run slow and still win a race and be like, that was sick.
Yeah. Shout out Centro.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah, I feel
I
like
think
I'd choose the medals.
I think your point though of the range that Jakob has, I hadn't thought about that. That is pretty interesting that he could set like he could easily set like the 1500-meter world record and then step up to the 10K one day and set the 10K world record and so that's kind of crazy to think about. But also like I will say like, you know, Yared's world record that he
Hmm.
ran at Milrose was a way more exciting race than watching Jakob run
True.
345 personally.
That's true.
Like
Yeah, it's
like
true.
Like even though he ran like significantly faster, like Yared's race was like I also think that that type of racing that Yared was in is better for the sport than chasing world records. Because again, I think that the Joe Schmoes of the world that running needs people to pay attention to like gain popularity. The 345 versus 347, like they don't know the difference.
That's true. Yeah. I wonder how many people in the world are actually named Joe Schmo.
Probably zero.
Probably a couple.
That would actually be a brutal name. Hopefully, no one actually named their kid that. If their last name was Schmo, they were like, yeah, let's name him Joe. Um, Yeah, but anyways, good questions. So those are only two. So two's better than zero, guys, but we would
Two is
love
better
some
than
more.
zero. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, two's better than zero. I am on a time crunch this week, so this is kind of a double bonus for everyone who doesn't want the long episodes. Let us know. Try to use this as motivation to let us know if you like the shorter episodes or the longer ones better. But also, um, I was talking to Woody this past week, and we might potentially have a guest next week. So
whoa,
we
whoa,
might
whoa. No
we
false
might have
promises
a
here.
guest.
No false
Yeah,
promises.
no false promises, but we got some interest. We got some guest interest. So
Go. get Woody on the
We
podcast.
might dip our toes in the water. Or he talked about just having a specific segment on our podcast, which could also be cool. So yeah, we'll brainstorm that. But yeah, keep the questions and the interactions going. And then yeah, if you're coming from Instagram, let us or you just let us know where that could be like this week. Just let us know where you
We got
discovered the pod.
we got three things. We got a homework assignment. Don't
Yeah,
let this deter you. We want to know if you like longer episodes or shorter episodes. We've heard both ways. We don't have like I couldn't say I've heard it both ways.
yeah.
Um, we want to know where you're listening from and what was the other one? Or where you found the
Where
podcast from.
yeah, yeah.
And what was the other one? Was there a third one? Oh, a
Just
question.
like
Send questions.
yeah,
Send
general
questions.
questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, shorter episode. Chuck's gotta go run errands, I think. So
Got a blast. Yeah, I got a blast out of here.
cool. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully, pending Chuck's busy schedule, we'll be back next week. You never know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah, and leave an out of context response to this question. What is the I just had it. Just leave a yes or no. Just you can just DM me or Kyle yes or no. Is Kyle's purchase of a K truck the dumbest purchase you've ever heard? Just yes
I
or no, or
haven't purchased it yet. We
leave it
didn't
in the
even talk
Spotify
about it.
comments. Just leave it
All
in the
right.
Spotify
First
comments,
off,
yes or no.
anyone who says no, go fuck yourself. Okay. I'll get violent here. But I haven't purchased it yet, so that's still pending. It sounds like it's gonna happen, but it might not. Last thing I'll say, I did bid on a Toyota Tacoma the other day. Um,
Yeah.
but I got outbid by like $750 because I had a work call and
Ah,
I couldn't like put another bid. It was actually a nice Tacoma and I would have gotten it for a sweet price. But anyways, yeah, I am trying to get another car for like winter driving. So
ooh, that could
but
be it.
yeah,
That could be it. That could be it. We should have an out of context answer. Out of context answer to leave in the DMs or the Spotify comments or whatever. Give us your suggestion for the stupidest car, the most impractical car Kyle could buy for the quote unquote bolder winters. The K truck is the leader
might
of
be
the
a
pack right
might be
now,
a
but if you
might be a BMW M2 if we're being
yeah,
honest.
yeah, if you have a better idea, let us know.
Oh shit. All right. Well, everyone, you guys have a homework assignment. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back soon with another podcast, hopefully next week. But yeah, thank you guys for listening and we'll chat with you soon.
Episode